Come, sit closer to the warmth of the fire. The flames tonight seem to dance with a particular energy, as if eager to tell a story of their own. For our tale this evening is not born of quiet sorrows or whispered secrets in dark corridors. No. Tonight, we speak of a magic that is loud and proud and pure. We speak of fire, of steel, and of a courage so bright it could be forged into a blade. Every witch and wizard knows of the sword of Godric Gryffindor. We see it in our mind's eye, the gleaming silver blade, the hilt encrusted with egg-sized rubies, a weapon of legendary power. We know it appears to any true Gryffindor in their hour of need. It is a symbol, a savior, an icon. But symbols are not born. They are made. And the story of the sword's creation is a tale woven with the ancient pride of wizards and the unmatched skill of the goblin race. A tale of respect, artistry, and a bond that would, tragically, be misunderstood for centuries. Our story begins over 1,000 years ago, in a time when the four founders of Hogwarts had just laid the final stone of their magnificent castle, while Rowena Ravenclaw filled the library with books and Helga Hufflepuff planted the first magical herbs in the greenhouses. Godric Gryffindor, the bravest and most daring of the four, felt something was missing. The school had knowledge, it had loyalty, it had ambition, but it needed a symbol for its heart, a symbol of courage that would endure through the ages. He did not want a dusty relic locked in a vault. He wanted something that lived, something that could choose its wielder. He envisioned a sword that was more than just a weapon, a sword that was a judge of character. Godric, a master duelist but a humble artisan, knew he could not forge such a masterpiece alone. The finest magic of wizards, he knew, could not compare to the artistry of a goblin-wrought blade. There was only one being in the world renowned for such skill, a king among his people and a legend in the forge. Ragnarok I, the most gifted of all goblin silversmiths. The journey to the Goblin King's underground domain was not one a wizard would undertake lightly. Godric Gryffindor did not go with arrogance or with demands. He went with a proposal, an offering of immense respect. He brought with him not gold, but the most magnificent, flawless ruby the wizarding world had ever seen, a stone that seemed to hold a living fire within its core. He presented it to King Ragnarok, not as payment, but as the heart of the project they would create together. King Ragnarok, whose eyes had appraised every precious metal and gemstone known to his kind, was mesmerized. He saw not just a gemstone in Godric's offering. He saw a challenge. He saw the heart of a blade that had yet to be born, a fire that could be given a silver voice. For a goblin silversmith, there was no greater honor than a commission born not of greed, but of pure, ambitious artistry. The partnership was sealed not with a handshake, but with a shared, silent nod of understanding over the glowing ruby dot. Thus began the forging. It was not a process of days or weeks, but of many months. Godric Gryffindor did not simply deliver the materials and leave. He stayed, working alongside the Goblin King, a partnership almost unheard of in the annals of history. The great Gryffindor, founder of Hogwarts, humbled himself as an apprentice in the Goblin Forge. Ragnarok brought the goblin magic. He smelted the purest silver in dragon fire, folding it upon itself 1,000 times. Each fold cooled in unicorn's blood to grant it impossible strength and a lustrous shine that would never tarnish. He worked the metal with chants in gobbledygook, spells that spoke directly to the silver spirit, commanding it to be not just sharp, but to seek out and absorb that which would make it stronger. Godric, in turn, brought the wizarding magic. He did not touch the silver, for that was Ragnar's domain. Instead, he worked on the hilt and, most importantly, on the great ruby. He spent weeks performing slow, meticulous enchantments on the gem. He imbued it with spells of discernment, of bravery, and with the core principle of his house, a charm that would bind the sword's loyalty not to a bloodline, not to a place, but to a quality, to an act of true, selfless courage. He wove into the very fabric of the ruby the ability to choose. Day after day, the forge rang with the sound of goblin hammers and the low chant of wizarding incantations. They worked in a unique harmony, each respecting the other's craft. Ragnar would shape the blade, his small, powerful hands moving with a grace that defied their strength. Godric would then hold the ruby over the cooling blade, its magical aura seeping into the silver, aligning the goblin's craft with the wizard's intent. The final step was the most delicate. The blade, perfect and gleaming, was complete. The hilt, adorned with Godric's name, was ready. Now, the heart had to be set. Under the watchful eyes of the entire goblin court, Ragnar I, using tools as fine as a spider's silk, set the great ruby into the pommel of the hilt. The moment the gem settled into its silver throne, a pulse of warm red light erupted from it, bathing the entire forge in a crimson glow. The sword was complete. It was a thing of breathtaking beauty, perfectly balanced, radiating a power that was both noble and deadly. It was more than an object. It was a personality, a living piece of magic, born of the shared genius of two races. Godric Gryffindor held the sword in his hands. It felt not like a tool, but like an extension of his own arm, his own will. It was perfect. He expressed his profound gratitude to King Ragnar, acknowledging that the sword's beauty and strength were the result of goblin artistry that no wizard could ever hope to replicate. He prepared to depart for Hogwarts, his creation in hand. And it is here, in this moment of mutual triumph, that the seeds of a 1,000-year-old misunderstanding were sown. In goblin culture, the concept of payment is very different. When a master smith creates his magnum opus, his greatest work, he does not simply sell it. The creation remains fundamentally his. The commissioner is merely its guardian for a time. To a goblin, the true creator is the true owner. Ragnar, having poured his very soul and the pinnacle of his craft into the blade, believed that Godric was simply borrowing the sword. He admired the wizard deeply, and was honored that his masterpiece would be wielded by such a worthy hand. But in his mind, once Godric's lifetime was over, the sword was meant to be returned to its maker's lineage. Godric, steeped in wizarding tradition, saw the matter differently. He had commissioned the work, provided the heart of the blade, the enchanted ruby, and worked alongside the king. In his view, the sword was his, fairly and honorably created, a legacy for his Hogwarts house. This cultural chasm, this silent, unspoken difference in perspective, was wider and deeper than any cavern in the goblin minds. Neither of them was wrong. From their own point of view, when Godric left with the sword, Ragnar saw it as a temporary departure. But as years turned into decades, and the tales of Godric Gryffindor and his magical sword spread throughout the land, the Goblin King grew to believe he had been betrayed. He believed that the wizard, for all his nobility, had ultimately stolen the blade. He passed this story down to his followers, an oral history of a beautiful treasure wrongfully taken. It became a point of great bitterness and contention between wizards and goblins for centuries to come. Meanwhile, at Hogwarts, the sword's true magic began to reveal itself. Godric did not wield it often. He kept it in his study, a symbol of what courage could achieve. But he noticed something remarkable. The sword seemed to have a will of its own. It would vanish from its stand for days, only to reappear. Sometimes cleaned of dust it could not have gathered, sometimes humming with a faint. Residual magic it did not possess before God. It was during a perilous duel with a rogue, dark wizard, that its primary enchantment was revealed. Godric, disarmed and cornered, his wand skittering across the floor, called out not for help, but with a surge of pure, defiant courage. In that very instant, the sword materialized in his hand, plucked seemingly from thin air. He had not summoned it. His bravery had. The sword had chosen its moment. It had chosen the true Gryffindor. The sword's ability to appear for the worthy became its defining legend. It passed from the hands of Godric Gryffindor into the guardianship of Hogwarts itself, its magic intrinsically linked to the Sorting Hat. The hat would act as its gatekeeper, a portal through which the sword could travel, waiting for the call of a true heir of Gryffindor. For nearly 1,000 years, it remained as it was forged, a blade of unparalleled sharpness and noble purpose. But its story was not yet complete. A millennium after its creation, it was called forth once more, deep within the castle's hidden chamber of secrets. It appeared not for a mighty wizard or a trained duelist, but for a small, determined boy with unruly black hair and a lightning bolt scar, facing a monster of unimaginable horror. There, in that dark, cavernous chamber, the sword fulfilled its primary purpose. But in the battle against the 60-foot basilisk, something new happened. As Harry Potter drove the blade through the roof of the great serpent's mouth, the silver of the blade was drenched in basilisk venom, one of the most powerful and destructive substances known to the magical world. Any lesser blade would have corroded, dissolved, turning to black dust. But this was goblin silver, enchanted to its very core. As Ragnarok I had commanded it, the sword absorbed that which would make it stronger. The venom did not destroy it. The blade imbibed it. The goblin silver drank the poison and made it its own. From that moment on, the sword of Godric Gryffindor possessed a new and terrible power. It became one of the few objects capable of destroying Horcruxes, the darkest of all magical artifacts. The sword, born of courage, had been baptized in venom, transforming into the ultimate weapon against the very darkness that Horcruxes represented. The shared artistry of a noble wizard and a proud goblin king had been completed, unintentionally, by the bravery of a 12-year-old boy. The misunderstanding of the goblins, who saw the sword's reappearance as further proof of theft, continued for a time. But the truth of the sword is far more beautiful than a simple story of ownership. It belongs to no single person. It is not an heirloom to be passed down. It is an artifact of virtue, a silent judge that waits and watches ... And when a heart is filled with enough courage to face the impossible, it answers the call. And so, the story of the sword finds its rest, just as you must find yours. A story of fire, of courage, of magic working in ways that even its creators could not foresee. Let the image of the gleaming blade fade from your mind. Let the echoes of the forge fall silent. There are no more battles to be fought tonight. No more monsters to face. There is only the soft comfort of your bed, the gentle quiet of your room. Feel the warmth spreading through your body, like the gentle heat from a blacksmith's dying embers. Feel your muscles letting go, your mind becoming still and clear. Every breath you take is a wave, washing away the thoughts of the day. Breathe in peace, and breathe out all that troubles you. The sword rests waiting for its next hero. And you can rest now too, for your own great acts of courage. Your own trials will be waiting for you tomorrow. Tonight. Is for peace, for restoration, for the deep and dreamless slumber you have earned. Sleep well, dear traveler. Sleep and be strong.